Okay. Well, I'm still in. Cruz, how about you?
Maybe I should fold.
Well, let me see. Let me see first. No, not with a hand like that. Come on. Dare me. Go on. Bluff me. Come on.
How much should I bet?
If it were me, I'd bet everything. But that's me. I'm an aggressive gambler. Mr. Vegas. Come on. Go for it. Go for it. Yes, yes. There we go. I'm in.
What do you got?
Well, I got a full house. 3 threes and 2 sixes. That's a full house. What have you got? Well, you have
Fours. I got an ace.
You got an ace, an 8, and a 7. Well, you lose, you see. If you would have had 4 fours, you would have won. You're getting good at this, aren't you?
Hang of it,
you like it? Isn't this fun? You're pretty good for first time, really.
Welcome, everyone, to a new episode of Pausable Deniability, the show co-hosted by me, but mainly hosted by the great David Millerman. And we have a very special guest tonight, Millerman, don't we?
Millerman's laying out because you gave him such a high-end introduction. I kind of thought your show was shared. So you're saying that Millerman is the one that drives the bus and you're just riding shotgun?
It's his podcast. I'm just like Andy Richter. Like, I'm just the sidekick.
So this is basically just assume the juxtaposition monthly.
Yes, pretty much. That voice you're hearing, folks, is Junior Lopez, a.k.a. Mexican Junior, and we're having him on because the episode's topic is gambling.
Which Bob is an expert on. Bob, can you tell us your vast poker knowledge?
I'm terrible. I'm not good at poker or cards. All I do, if I ever gamble, is on sports, and I always lose. So I'm not. Now, the two other hosts of tonight, Millerman and Junior, are excellent gamblers, excellent poker players.
I would not say that.
They've won thousands and thousands of dollars over the years.
I've lost more thousands than I've won.
Yeah.
Especially after this year.
Yeah, I'm with.
Matter of fact, they have proffered off each other's winnings. So
that was kind of a one-way street, though.
Yeah, no, I was about to say no. I have definitely profited off of Junior. Junior has made shit off of me. So
yeah, I had a lot of remorse on making that little deal at the beginning of that tournament, just flopping over $1,000 or however much it was to Millerman so he can go and waste it on Pai Gow.
We just need to play more in the same tournament. That's how this split works, right? That's how you make your money. So
maybe next time a 2% equity share versus a 25%.
Oh, that's fine with me. I mean, you'll just never get your money back. I'm way ahead in this deal. I'm good.
So maybe the place for us to start is, how did each of you start really getting into and enjoying cards and poker and all that stuff? Like, Millerman, did he teach you how to play, or how did you really start getting into it?
Nah, when I was a kid, my family didn't do anything like that. If anything, we would get together on like Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays and play a game called 31. And I can't even remember how to play that game, but I know that we would play for money. And even as like a 5, 6, 7-year-old kid, I loved it because anytime I could win, that was a thing. And
spin off of 31 pickup, where you would just have to pick up 31 of the cards
just 31 and not 52, right?
Was it anything like Pinochle?
I don't ever played that. I don't have any idea.
What is that? Is that a card game?
Don't have any idea.
Or is that when your finger?
Pinochle has a special deck, and like there is, instead of like 4 of each kind of card, there's like multiple variants of each kind of card. So there can be 8 aces in play at once. It's a very weird game that I have no idea how to play. Yeah, but I think it requires a special deck specifically to play it, because you can have more than 4 aces going at once and stuff like that. It's almost like a 2-deck game.
When I got into high school, some buddies of mine, we would get together on Saturday nights, drink beer and play cards. And
wait, drink beer in high school? Millerman, yeah. What country did you grow up in?
And just start playing like
bad influence
stuff, and but then it actually grew, and we were playing for $100 a weekend, stuff like that, which was big money back then when I was in high school, for sure.
So Millerman, you succumbed to peer pressure. You were drinking underage. You were gambling illegally. I'm sure whatever high school home game this was taking a rake of some sort.
Now, which Boy Scout badges were you earning with these activities?
Well, you're learning math skills, you're learning, things like that. I'm sure there was definitely something we could
Hand-eye
turn that into.
coordination.
And then honestly, I didn't truly get into it, and I'm just like the vast majority of poker players. I didn't truly get into it until the Moneymaker Effect.
2003 World Series of Poker.
I was watching the World Series of Poker and watching this guy, Chris Moneymaker, and then started playing on PokerStars, and that was really it for the next few years. I played so much on PokerStars, it was ridiculous.
It sounds like such a fake name to
It
Chris
does.
Moneymaker.
Yeah.
But it was actually his real name, and he is credited by most as being
it's like a wrestler being named Steve Chokehold.
Yeah.
Like it's not.
Yeah.
Johnny Football, which I guess there was a real Johnny Football. He was basically the catalyst that made the poker boom kind of explode to where, usually the World Series of Poker would have maybe a couple of thousand entrants, and then all of a sudden it's got like 10,000 entrants or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah, the year Moneymaker won was like 978 or 987 entrants or something like that, and then the next year it was 2,500, and then it was 6,000, and then it was 10,000, and it just grew. And the Moneymaker Effect is a real thing, and I mean it certainly worked for me.
Was he a contemporary of Stu Unger?
No, Stu Unger was way earlier. Stu Unger was big in the 80s, and Moneymaker won in early 2000s.
But Unger won in 97.
That's right. On his second one.
Oh, he had
his first title.
Third.
His first, like one of his first titles was like in 1980, and then his last one was like in 97.
Doyle won in 79 and 80, and finished third in 81 to Unger.
So Unger, he did one of those Jack Nicklaus master wins, like at 46 kind of thing, where he
though he was still a young guy, like when Unger won his first title, he was a really young guy, and apparently he blew all of his money on drugs and alcohol and gambling, to the point where when he won his last title at the World Series of Poker, he had no nose left. It was a very Michael Jackson like scenario.
Already langed up.
Cocaine, he had cocained his nose clear off. Had got Johnny Wyatted.
Now, when did hologram cyborg Helmuth show up?
Was that 89 maybe?
89. Yeah. So Johnny Chan won in 87, 88, and finished second to Helmuth in 89.
Which is an incredible run for Johnny Chan. First, second. That's one of the most impressive
looking back,
ones.
Though, I think looking at the history, I think one of the bigger ones that you have to say is Dan Harrington winning in what was it?
95 maybe?
Yeah, 95, and then going back-to-back final table after the Moneymaker Effect. And this is a guy who's in his 60s at that point. I mean, that's just an incredible feat.
And was Amarillo Slim involved at that point?
No, he was big in the 70s, but
yeah.
What about
the 70s and Johnny Carson? I know that's your only reason for knowing who Amarillo Slim is from Johnny Carson. So
yeah, Moneymaker was the first guy that was just an average Joe, won his entry into the World Series of Poker playing online back when online poker was big with PokerStars and Full Tilt and all that kind of stuff, party poker. And he took his online win and turned it into one of the biggest upsets in, I guess, World Series of Poker history. No one had ever even heard of him, and here he is knocking out all of these professionals. And I know a lot of people think that a lot of his run was luck, but if you go back and look at some of the highlights and some of that video, a lot of it was skill too. He was making some very calculated bluffs.
He had
his
great
decision
bluffs.
Making.
Yeah,
I think there was only one
bluffs,
time
good laydowns, and he did get lucky a couple times.
Yeah, the one against Phil Ivey was the one I can recall where he had a really bad beat go against Phil Ivey to get him knocked out. I think like rivered a full house against what Phil Ivey had that was better. I forgot what it was, but that was the only hand that I can recall where he really sucked out on the river against somebody.
And Moneymaker, was that when they started televising the World Series of Poker and like Norman Chad and all that stuff, or was that later?
That was the first year when they had the edited version like that, where they ran the entire series. They had started running preliminary events, and they started running all the events leading up to it. There had been televised events prior to that, and the World Series had been filmed before, but never with whole cards or anything like that to the effect or to the extent that it was that year with Moneymaker.
And then from there, the coverage just got more extensive.
Yeah,
to the point now where they're doing live video feeds basically, and they don't even do the edited versions anymore. You used to get World Series of Poker highlights in hour blocks where they would kind of jump from table to table and show you, oh, okay, this was a big hand and this professional just got knocked out. Now it's all a live stream basically where they just run nonstop and showing what's going on in real time.
And honestly, I miss those edited 1 hour shows where like they would take an odd event like nobody really plays, like deuce to seven triple draw, and create a storyline out of that. I really enjoyed that stuff, and I had read that Poker Go was going to try to start doing that, and I haven't seen anything like that come out, but I always enjoyed watching that.
I preferred the edited block. Somebody has time to watch 8 big blind raises in a row get laid down.
Right. Yeah, it draws it out for so long. I mean, some of them are interesting. I do kind of like watching like the heads up matches that they have, like Helmuth versus Negreanu or something like that. But otherwise, it's just give me a show. Give me something that's built to show the drama and cut out all the crap and give me the highlight.
So, Junior, tell us a little bit about your actual attempt at the World Series of Poker this year. You went, it's been about a month ago, almost. Give us the story, start to finish. Let's fill up. We got lots of content we need to fill. So,
well, first of all, let me kind of do my backstory, kind of like Millerman did, about how he, got into poker and stuff. So when I was a kid, I would, spend time with my family, and we would play cards. We would play, 5-card draw poker, and that's kind of where I learned, what hand beats what hand, and all of the basic, fundamentals of poker. But I never didn't
your dad? Was it mainly your dad that taught you?
No, actually, it was probably my cousins and my uncles and aunts were really the people that would kind of, play games like that with me. That's where I also learned how to play chess and then play checkers. There was basically time kills whenever they were tasked with having to take care of me when I was little. And so that was just one of the many ways, go fish and things like that, blackjack, all of those kind of things. That's where I kind of learned the fundamentals of cards. But I didn't actually learn how to play Texas Hold'em until 2005 when I was working in El Paso on a very, very high profile movie called Santos with the great Carlos Corral directing. So I was helping him, kind of do the film crew thing, holding boom mics and things like that, and helping with actor direction. But at night, after the filming was done, and this was during a time when I was unemployed too. Man, the time that I was unemployed, I know, Bob, you've already had like 7 or 8 unemployment stints, so it's old hat to you. But it was the first time that I was unemployed for an extended period of time. I was unemployed for about 6 months. I basically milked my unemployment until it ran out before I said, okay, now it's time to get a job. But in that time frame, I did so many trips, just basically burned through all my severance, burned through all of my contractor work money. I went to Canada, I went to Niagara Falls, I went to LA, and then I spent those 2 weeks in El Paso. And after we would get done filming, there was a couple of guys that were there that would get a poker game going, and they were playing Texas Hold'em. And I was like, well, I don't really know how to play. And they were playing for money. They were doing tournaments, usually $10 or $20 buy-in. And I was like, well, I don't really want to spend money unless, I know how to play. And they said, well, we'll kind of teach you the ropes, and, we'll play a couple of practice hands to get you an understanding of the game. And once that happened and I started playing tournaments, we would play maybe 3 or 4 tournaments a night, and I got hooked, man. I couldn't wait to get done filming that stupid movie to get to the after party and throw $50 down on those tournaments at night. And then that basically started my whole journey to the no limit Hold'em version of poker. I went back, and since this was 2005, the Moneymaker stuff had already happened, so I would watch the World Series of Poker highlights from 2003, 2004, which I think was that the Raymer year, I think.
Greg Raymer, right?
Who I met when I was in Vegas last time.
Yeah, he looked thrilled, by the way.
Yeah, he was not very happy. He looked extremely whipped. But at least he didn't say anything that made it appear to be whipped. I mean, you could tell in his eyes because he was all masked up, but at least the words that came out of his mouth were very pleasant.
Nice.
So yeah, I watched that, and then I watched, the 2005 highlights, 2006, and all the way up through the Jamie Gold World Series of Poker win. I think that's probably, after that is probably when I stopped, paying attention so much to World Series of Poker coverage. But yeah, that whole scenario got me hooked on the game, and then I went and I started playing online. I had a PokerStars account, I had a Full Tilt account, I had a Party Poker account until that went under. I think that was one of the first dominoes to fall of the big online poker site. And then like a lot of people, I had money in my Full Tilt and PokerStars accounts when everything got shut down, whatever year that was, maybe 2009, maybe.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about
2012.
that.
2012.
How much did you have seized?
I mean, I only had a couple of $100 in my accounts.
Millerman,
at that
did you
time.
lose money in that shutdown as well?
I mean, I eventually got it back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I did too.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I think everything was at that time. Everything was really done through PayPal. So eventually, the money got moved from those accounts into PayPal, and then PayPal back to me.
For me, I tried to play on Full Tilt and Party and Ultimate Bet and some of the others, and I just never liked the interface. I liked PokerStars interface, and it had more of the non-hold'em games. So I'm the guy that likes to play Raz and Omaha and Stud 8 or Better is one of my favorite games and stuff like that. So I like those other games, and you could always find those. You could find more competition on PokerStars than you could on any of the other sites.
And on PokerStars too, I remember they had a lot more rewards for playing. Like
Right.
you would get points, and you could turn those points into like T-shirts and jerseys. And like I had a hockey PokerStars jersey that I ended up getting off of those reward points. And they made really nice incentives to stay on and lose your money slowly. Now the good thing about PokerStars and Full Tilt is the blind levels. If you were playing cash games, I mean, they went all the way down to 1 cent and 2 cents. So you could milk $5 and you could have weeks, months of just playing those really low level stakes while still accruing points for playing. And obviously there was rakes and stuff going on in there too, but they made it really easy to keep playing. And then eventually, once you have a certain amount of money in there, you could play some of their daily tournaments. They had tournaments going all the time. And at that time, I was more of a tournament player than I was a cash game player. I didn't really play a lot of cash game poker until way, way later. I coming through like my poker journey, I went from playing online to doing a lot of, and I think Millerman is kind of similar. I played a lot of bar poker tournaments. At that time when poker was really big and it was being televised a lot of bars were having poker tournaments to get people to come in, spend money, things like that. And I played a lot of tournament poker at bars, and Buffalo Wild Wings had tournaments, and all of these other places that you go and eat and have a drink and stuff like that. Strip clubs, they all had them. Ways to get you in the door.
I was playing in a lot of illegal underground tournaments in Dallas.
Do I need to edit this out, Millerman?
No, I mean it was a thing.
Statute of limitations is passed.
Yeah, there were a lot of them. I played in a bunch of games in Richardson, Addison. I played in games where they would have topless dealers. Like that was supposed to be a nice draw. And
now, aren't those legal as long as they're not taking some sort of a cut?
No, I mean at the time no one was doing anything like that. And now what you're talking about is games where they're not taking a cut of the fees, but they're charging you to sit down per hour and stuff like that.
Yeah, and they charge you a membership fee and a daily,
but those are legal, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, but I mean, you really have to play a lot of hands to be able to make up the difference of sitting there and losing $8 or $10 an hour. I mean, if you sit there and you just wait for good hands, you're just you're bleeding out from your $200-300 buy-in if you're sitting there losing $10 an hour plus. Poker is such a game of patience, at least for me.
Yeah,
but yeah, I was more of a tournament guy. It sounds like Millerman was more of a cash game guy, probably.
Well, no, I mean there were a lot of those tournaments, and that was what I was playing. Was a lot of the tournaments. When the tournaments were done, I would play cash. But so when I like I said, like the deal that you and I had, and we'll talk about it in a minute. But the deal that you and I had, where we took a percentage of each other when we were in Vegas, I started that with a guy that I played with here locally that that we actually met online on PokerStars. If you remember back in the early days of PokerStars, it would tell you what city you could put what city you were in, and it would show you on your icon or whatever what city. And there was this guy, and I was playing, and his said Dallas and mine said Dallas, and we started trash talking each other. And then we ended up, turns out that he lived in McKinney and I lived over in the Colony, and so we met up and went to some games in Richardson. And
was there any tension since you guys were trash talking each other?
No, I mean, it became friendly. It became real friendly. We started chatting with each other, and then it just became a good friend, good poker friend, and still play to this day. I was at Choctaw with him about a month and a half or so ago, and went up there when the World Poker Tour was there.
No invite?
Actually, you were invited. Yeah.
It's funny too, like some of the games that Millerman is talking about, where they were kind of underground illegal games. Bob, if you'll remember, Big Dave used to do some of those kind of tournaments where you basically go to a warehouse.
Yeah, they get raided. He got raided.
Yeah,
one of us got raided.
So that's what I was going to say. So in one of those instances where he went to go play one of those underground games, that location got raided and actually was featured on an episode of SWAT.
Yeah,
so
Dallas SWAT.
So the poker game that got raided was actually televised, and you can see poor Big Dave being let out in handcuffs with his face blurred, probably.
Perp locked up.
Yeah.
Pour one out for Big Dave.
Stay hard,
Yes.
Big Dave.
But yeah, Big Dave actually was a huge poker player as well. He was probably more into poker than I was during
Was
that
he
time.
good?
So yeah. Big Dave had a funny philosophy. You know, he would, if he was playing tournaments, he would always say the first buy-in is always just to test the room and to kind of establish his personality. He didn't take it seriously until his second buy-in. So he always made sure to not play freeze-out tournaments where you only get one. He always liked to kind of, be aggressive and kind of bully the table, knowing that eventually he was going to get caught. And then once he realized how people were going to react to his aggression, the second buy-in is, and that's the one he said, that's the one that really counts. It's kind of like with me with bowling. The first game of bowling is just practice, just to kind of get a feel for the lane. The second game is the one that counts. That was his philosophy when it came to poker and came to tournaments. But he actually got me set up on a lot of home games. He got me set up on tournaments. And then when I was working at RealPage, there was a lot of people that played poker there, and I got hooked up with some of their home games. And then eventually a lot of us established our own games where we were playing really low stakes tournaments. And that lasted for a really long time.
So what about the World Series of Poker? Let's talk a little bit about your trip there.
So yeah, the reason that whole trip came about was there is a group of friends that I play with, usually weekly. They have cash games that decided this year, since last year COVID kind of C-blocked everything, they were going to do a trip. And I think they had done the trip, years prior to this year. But they were jonesing to go, and they had already found some deals on Southwest. All of a sudden they had flash sales to Vegas. So they were letting everybody know, hey, we're going to be setting up this World Series of Poker trip. We're already scoping out Airbnbs, so we're going to have that covered. You just have to pay your share of, however many people are staying there. And we have these Southwest deals that are going on right now, if you're interested. So I ended up, booking a flight, round trip to Vegas for like $150 or something really cheap. And then the Airbnb that they established was really, really nice. The first iteration of it anyway. So everything seemed lined up perfectly for me to just say, oh, hey, I'll tag along. And if it's going on during the World Series of Poker, I had never been there during that time. I was always kind of intimidated, by how big the buy-ins are. And, the main event is 10 grand. I had never thought, that I would ever get to a point where I would actually be comfortable paying that much. But it was the week that we were staying there was the week of my birthday. So I thought, okay, everything is lining up to where, it's telling me I should go, and I should at least kind of do a bucket list scratch off and play the World Series of Poker, play the main event. It's only going to be, one time. It's going to be during my birthday. The stars kind of lined up for it. So I ended up going, and the World Series of Poker main event started Thursday, I think it was the day before my birthday. And but I was going to be there an entire week from Saturday to Saturday. And I said, well, let me go ahead and play some of because the World Series of Poker, there's hundreds of tournaments. else going on. So it's not just the $10,000 main event. You have $600 buy-in tournaments that can get you a bracelet, $1,000 buy-in tournaments, all these different variants of poker too, like Millerman was saying, Omaha, Raz, all of these different, 5-card draw, 7-card stud, things like that. So I decided, okay, well, let me get my feet wet and play some of these lower buy-in amount tournaments at the World Series. And I played the $600 deep stack tournament, and I only lasted about 7 hours in a 3-day tournament. So that was my first indication that things were not going to go so well for me. And
did you say that was a deep snap tournament? Like the Skinlanons were running it?
No,
nice.
The deep stack tournament.
Okay.
So a couple of questions. So you were at the Rio, which this was the last year that it was supposed to be at, or is going to be at the Rio. So
yeah, and our Airbnb was very, very close to the Rio. It was maybe 10 minutes from there too. All right. So it made it very convenient.
So the room that you were in, were you in the Amazon room when you were playing your tournament? Do you remember?
I want to say it started with a B. Brazil or something like
that. The Brasilia.
Yeah, the Brasilia room. I want to say I was in that one. But
hardwood floors, no doubt, in that room. No carpet.
Shave clean. In that tournament, I ended up going all in. I want to say I flopped 2 pair, and I ended up losing to a straight on the river. The guy had ace jack, and I think the flop was like king queen ace or something like that. And the 10 ended up showing up on the river. So I knew at that point, I was like, okay, then nothing I could do. I had to get my money in while I was good. That's really the whole goal when it comes to playing poker. Get your money in with the best hand, regardless of the cards to come. And that's always the goal of everybody's decision making when it comes to, at least I think it is. Get your money in good. And I got my money in good, so I didn't feel too bad about it. It was $600 down the drain, but it was a good experience. I was like, okay, well, a couple of days after that was the mini main, which was $1,000 buy-in. It's like, okay, well, I didn't feel bad about my decision making in the deep stack, so I said, okay, let me try the mini main, and that's another 3-day tournament, 8 or 12-hour sessions every day, and I only lasted about 3 hours in that tournament, and in that one, I flopped top set. I flopped a set of jacks, but the whole board was all hearts, so I went all in, trying to protect my hand, trying to get out anybody that had draws, and a guy stayed in with a 10-6 of hearts and had flopped the flush. And I had raised pre-flop too. It's not like I was just, slow playing a pair of jacks or something. I bet at least 4 times the big blind pre-flop, and then I went all in after the flop, but it was already too late. I was hoping for the board to pair on the turn and river. Didn't come. So again, that one, even though I didn't get my money in good, I felt like that was the right decision. I mean, it's very rare for somebody to, I would think, stay in on something like that and hit their flush right on the flop. But after that, I was like, okay, well, maybe this is not my week to flop another 10 grand on the main event. So I said, you
you were getting all the bad luck out of the way.
That's what I was trying to tell him.
Yeah,
you got due for a big win.
You should have done it.
I was definitely due for more losses. You know what I think it is? In 2019, which was the year that I, shared my winnings with Millerman, I ran extremely well that year. I think I was a plus $5,000 something that year, all combined for the year. Cash games, tournaments, the Vegas trip, I was probably up, at $2 grand, two or $3 grand just in that trip alone. And I think I used up all of my good luck and good running on cards that year, because in 2020, which was a year that was mainly online poker because of COVID, I was like minus 600 last year. And after that trip to Vegas this year, I'm probably down about $3 grand in losses this year. So
I will say
I think I am evening out from that plus 5,000 in 2019 to where I will eventually break even in a 3-year span.
Well, talking about that trip to Vegas, we took a trip to Vegas. So we went, and it was we had our buddy Gary there, and we were playing at the Aria.
Yes, that was
we were at the Aria. And so it was I don't remember, $350 buy-in.
It's a pretty stark environment.
I actually want to say it was about,
you say?
Stupid.
Well, I mean, she did kill the Snow King or whatever his name is.
Just let it go, Bob. Just let it go. You're not participating in this podcast. Just let it go. You're fine. Oh man.
I thought she was
Yeah,
the one that had no name.
it's
The girl that
350,
has no name.
$400, whatever it was, as the buy-in. And I had mentioned to you that when I play tournaments with another buddy of mine, if we're in the same tournament, we take a piece of each other. We each get 25%. That way, if one of us makes the money, then great. And if both of us make the money, even better. We're just
I've been
taking
meaning to
it.
ask about that, Millerman. So to be honest with you, the only reason I made that blood pact with you was because I thought you were a better tournament player than I was. So I was like, okay, I'm going to be the one that's going to be benefiting from this because I'll probably
Sure.
get knocked out
Sure.
within the
You wanted
first
to
hour.
ride that pony. I got
So
it.
I want, yeah.
Got
So
it.
I definitely wanted to ride your coattails. But
Yeah.
had we both made the money, how would the split have worked? Would we just say, oh, okay, we both made the money, so we're just going to keep what we have? Or was I going to take 25% of whatever you took, and you were going to take 25% of whatever I took?
If we both make the money, then the person who gets the higher amount, we just split the difference. So it's 25% of whatever the difference is how we normally do it.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yeah,
by the way,
and then
Junior, are you
that-
saying that Millerman has exaggerated his skill level and that he's actually not anywhere near as
No,
good
I
as you
still
thought he
believe that
was?
Millerman is a better poker player than I am. At least
I
more
don't believe that
experienced
at
one.
all. I watched you at that table, and you know, a big part of that too is you ran well. You did really well in that tournament, and I mean, I think I busted out like 8 or 9 from the money.
Yeah, I was
there
going to
were-
say
yeah.
it that scenario was very close to playing out where we were both on the
Right.
money because we ended up, I think, paying out the bubble boy in that scenario. We took a not John Travolta going around in his bubble. Yeah, we ended up taking a vote when we got to, I guess, 10 people and decided that we were going to let the person that was going to not get any money at the very end get their buy-in back. But that could have you were very close to being the bubble boy there.
Yeah, I mean, I was close to making the money, but by that point, Junior was running well. He had gotten a big stack, and am I remembering this right that you finished second?
Yeah. So what happened was when we got to the final 3, instead of playing it out, we decided to chop what was the remainder of the prize pool, and then they did the chop based on chip percentage. So when we tallied up all of our chip counts, I ended up having the second highest amount of chips. So the amount of money that I pulled from the prize pool that remained was whatever percentage of chips I had. And the guy that had the most amount of chips in the chip leader was the person that got the trophy and got the picture. But I mean, we were very, very close. So had we played it out, it could have gone either way.
Yeah, and
I think me and the chip leader were pretty close to even. The guy in third ended up probably benefiting the most from that because I think it would have been pretty quickly that he would have got knocked out because of how high the blinds were.
If y'all had played it out, how much would the winnings have been for the winner?
Well, it would have. I forgot the exact amount, but when we did the chop, it was very close to what we would have finished with anyway had we actually played it out and did first, second, third. So it wasn't like I gave a lot of money up.
I made about $650 or $700 for nothing, and I appreciate that.
Well, how long?
Well, I mean, you were there for the entire amount of the tournament, which was
I did get you a hamburger on your break. I did get you a hamburger.
That's a pretty big tip.
And the scenario that played out where Millerman was trying to take care of me while I was playing the tournament, taking pictures of me and getting me snacks and stuff on because in a tournament like that, when they go on break, they're like 10-minute breaks and everybody makes a rush to the concessions, to all of the restaurants. So it's not like you can just go, have something to eat and then come back. There's not enough time for that. So you really need somebody there to kind of, help you, get fed and things like that. And that was one of the instances also where I want to say we didn't even eat anything before we went to the tournament. Right. And I had a couple of packets of peanut butter crackers or something. Yes. And that was my breakfast and my lunch.
Yeah.
And then eventually you got me some kind of breakfast sandwich or something after you had gotten knocked out. But that whole situation, I just experienced that on the other end when I was in Vegas this last time because after the World Series of Poker stuff ended, one of the guys that was in our 15-man group ended up entering a tournament, an $1,100 tournament at the Venetian, which was a 3-day tournament. And when he got to the third day, we were doing a lot of the things that you were doing for me, Millerman, on the breaks, going and getting him snacks, getting him drinks, making sure he's okay. If there was anything he needed, he was smoker, so we would always go with him smoking, make sure he had lighters, cigarettes, whatever he needed. And he finished first in that Venetian tournament and won $240,000.
Whoa.
And unfortunately, none of us bought any equity of his buy-in, so he got to keep the whole amount to himself. Obviously taxes is going to cut into that and things like that, but he got a really, really beautiful trophy, and he actually got a check for the entire amount. They gave him options. They could give him cash, they could do a wire transfer. He chose the check amount. And what's really funny is he had a backpack. He put the trophy and the check in a backpack, and we were stopped somewhere before we went back to the Airbnb. He left that backpack and started walking off. One of the people in our group picked it up, but they didn't tell him until we got maybe 5 minutes away from where we were. And then one of us said, "Hey, didn't you have a backpack with you or something?" Man, his eyes bulged like you could not believe. He turned around in shock. He's like, "Oh shit!" And he started running back. And then all of a sudden, the guy that had the backpack said, "Hey, I got you covered, buddy. I got you covered here. You should probably, maybe slice me off a couple of $100 for this." But I ended up picking up your backpack. But yeah, wow. He almost left a $240,000 check and a Venetian first place trophy just sitting at some video poker.
Now, let me ask you, and just that's a bad call, right? Taking the check. I mean, wouldn't you do a wire transfer? Like if it's you?
I don't know. It depends. I guess. I didn't know the details on what the wire transfer fees would be. Like maybe he took the check because there wasn't any additional fees associated with it versus doing a wire transfer.
Nah, brah. Give me the wire transfer. Pay a 3% fee.
Yeah, so you don't have to worry about losing a check or carrying cash around or any of that stuff.
Yeah, I probably would have done it too. I mean, I would need to hear what the fees are. If it's like a 10 or 15%
it's
fee,
3%.
Then I would second guess it.
Okay, you're right. Yeah, if it's 10%, of course, then just
if it's like an ATM surcharge, then I might go the check route. But I didn't hear the details when he went to the cage to get his check.
Give me cash. I can hire some. You had 15 guys with you. You could have gotten to a bank.
I don't know that I want to take a bag of $240,000 through airport security and have to lug.
I would have gone to a bank. I would have gone directly to a Vegas bank and just been like,
$240K is not a light bag carry. That's a pretty heavy bag.
You could have.
I don't know that I would do the cash.
Once you were on the plane in air, you could have just DB Coopered and woohooed with the cash out of the plane.
And so Junior remains would never be found.
Did that trip scratch your itch permanently for World Series of Poker, or because you didn't play in the big main event, are you still itching to go back and do that at some point?
Now that I've had time to reflect, because after the entire experience, I was like, man, I am out of my league. These World Series of Poker players are way better than me. Even though I didn't feel like I made any really horrible decisions, I didn't bluff my money away stupidly or anything like that. But it felt like the players that were at the tournaments and even during the cash games, because even at cash games I didn't really do very well. It just felt like a different level of play that I wasn't at. That said, having had time to reflect, I still want to do it because I did not accomplish the goal of playing the main event. So I if they do it again next year, which I'm sure they will, I will probably do it again. Not only because of that, wanting to have that World Series of Poker main event experience, the entire experience in general was awesome. All of the guys that were there with me were awesome. The house was amazing. It was a lot of fun. Even when we weren't playing poker, we were having a great time. I would go even if I wasn't playing the World Series of Poker just to hang out with that group again.
So let me ask a really stupid question. Like if you're talking about the guys that are such a high level of skill above where you are, is that something that's attainable through practice and repetition, or is it like professional athletes, either you have the talent or you don't?
I think it's something that could be learned through experience, but I mean, I'm going on 15 years of playing poker, and I don't know that I'm any better than the first couple of years that I started playing.
And I've thought about that too. And I mean, it's honestly a good question, Bob. But Junior, to your point, it's like we're playing beer league softball on the weekends. We're not dedicated and going to the batting cages and hitting every night and getting a coach and fielding like some of these guys are, because a lot of these guys are they're taking those solvers and they're studying.
Yeah, they've done the master classes, they've done the one-on-one training.
Like your buddy that won the 200K or whatever, 300K. I mean, is he that much better than you are?
I wanted to bring that up because I think his win kind of gave us all hope that, I mean, the guy that won, he's a very good poker player. I play cash games with him, on a weekly basis, although he did a lot more dealing than playing. So I think he gained a lot of experience, gained a lot of learning how people will handle decision making just through dealing versus actually playing. But I mean, whenever I play with him, it doesn't feel like he's at a completely different level. And for him to have accomplished something like that, I think gave us all a, kind of the hope that, hey, if it can happen to him, it can happen to any one of us. So I didn't really feel that it's not something that I could attain through just more practice, playing more hands. The more hands you play, theoretically, the more experience you have, dealing with cards and situations, the better your decision making will be, and the better theoretically you'll be able to read other players, read what their decision making is. But I don't know. Sometimes it feels like you're getting better. Like in 2019, I felt like I had, kind of reached a level to where, I could go to any cash game and go to any cash room and do well. But after this year, it feels like I've demoted and taken a step back to where, hey, maybe I'm not as good as I thought I was.
You have the ebbs and flows in this game. I mean, it is regardless of whether you know the math, regardless of whether you know the right play or not, there is still a luck factor that's involved. There is, and it's real, and that's why there are swings, and that's why even the best tournament pros, if they're cashing in 25% of the tournaments that they play, that's still 75% of the tournaments that they don't. And so luck does play a factor in that, and that swing is, that volatility is one of the things that can be frustrating for a lot of beginners. But man, when you have that beginner's luck, or you have that one big score like that, it really can set you on fire to just want to continue to try to attain that.
Yeah, like the guy that won that tournament, now moving forward, he's probably going to play as many tournaments and cash games as he can, because he's reached a level that a lot of other professionals haven't even attained. And you have that kind of big score, you're kind of set to where you can set 50 grand aside just to play poker and just to get better. And I am far from that level.
So Millerman, are you considering going and doing World Series of Poker at some point?
Yeah, I've always thought about it, but I think like one of the things that I said is I want to play some of those other games. I want to play in the $1,500 stud 8 or better, or the $1,500 Raz, or the $5,000 horse tournament. Horses, you change every round. Every time the button goes around the table,
a different
you play
game
around a Hold'em, Omaha, Raz, stud, and then stud 8 or better. And I, like I said, those mixed games like that, I've always found it to just, it engages my brain. It's one of those things where I feel like I'm really good at it. I feel like I'm better at some of those other variants than I am in Hold'em, just because of the way my brain works. And I just love playing those games, and I definitely want to do that. This year was a weird deal because the World Series of Poker is normally, it starts in late May and goes through July, and that's what's going to happen in 2022. They've set the schedule, and it'll start in late May again and go through July. And so it's going to be a different ball game. It'll be happening in 6-7 months at this point. Too soon for me to be able to go in 2022 just because of some of the things that we have going next year, but maybe 2023 I would love to go.
Road trip sounds like a group road trip in the outing.
That's a long drive.
If you mean by flying, then
well, that's what I meant. That's what I meant. Not a drive, but I meant just going on out of town. Now, since we're talking gambling big picture, let's not only focus on poker. What other types of gambling do you guys enjoy? Obviously, Millerman, you do some of the sports betting, right?
I'm gambling right now by playing DraftKings daily fantasy sports, and
if you count fantasy football, we're all kind of gamblers in a way.
Yeah. I did win $750 on Wednesday, so that's cool.
You had some kind of parlay?
No, I don't do sports betting. It's daily fantasy on DraftKings, and I won, or I came in third in a daily contest. So.
Was it the Thanksgiving one, or
no? It was Wednesday. I won it on Wednesday before, and
what games were on Wednesday?
It was
Like,
basketball.
Oh,
I was
okay.
doing it on basketball. Listen, I'm a degenerate, right? So I do basketball, do a little hockey.
You and Lyle.
All
you
football
would have
games.
you would have loved the group that went to Vegas, because that was basically the mantra the entire time. Whenever somebody suggested doing something other than gambling, there was one night where I said, "Hey, it'd be fun. Maybe we could go do karaoke or something like that." It's like, why are you even bringing that? We're degenerates. We don't deal with
Right.
non-gambling unless we're going to bet on how well we sing. There is no point in
There
doing
has to
something
be
that doesn't
money
involve
on the line at all
Yeah,
times.
money on
Yeah.
the line at all times. Right.
Yeah, see, and I think I'm more balanced than that. Like I obviously enjoy gambling, but I enjoy doing, like, when I go to Vegas, I enjoy doing other things too outside of gambling. Like
That's why you won't win $250,000.
yeah, absolutely. I am not committed enough to the gambling lifestyle to actually focus enough to do that. And I am very opposite of Millerman in terms of playing non-hold'em, because I mean, I know how to play Omaha and things like that, but my brain has to work too hard, and
So
I
is
don't like
Omaha-
straining my brain.
Omaha is like where Peyton Manning's always the dealer. How does that work?
Omaha.
Yes.
So yeah, I mean, I do the daily fantasy sports. I'll play a slot machine if I go.
Will you
to
mix in
Choctaw or
blackjack,
Winstar.
Millerman?
You know what? That's the one thing that I'm not good at. Like I don't play blackjack well.
But he
I'll-
plays like table poker and like three.
Yeah, I'll play like
poker.
3-card poker. I love me some 3-card poker.
Yeah, Pai Gow, you play that, right?
No, I don't play Pai Gow.
Okay.
Will you mix in some roulette, some
Nah.
craps?
Craps.
I don't know how to play craps. I don't know how
either.
to play roulette. I don't know any of that stuff.
When
So
when I
y'all
go
are
to
not
Vegas,
curious about some of the ones that you've never played before?
I am, but I don't know if I'm curious enough to actually bet money on it.
I've played them all, but whether I know how to or whether I'm good at it or totally.
So you
different things.
relied on them to tell you whether you won or lost.
That's one of the
yeah.
That's one of the things about table games and stuff like that. I feel intimidated because since I don't know what I'm doing, I don't want the rest of the people at the table to be pissed off at me for holding the game up. Like if I go play blackjack and I don't double down or whatever when I'm supposed to, I feel like everybody's going to turn on me. I rarely
always
play
double down
table
on
games.
11, baby. You always double down on 11.
Now,
The,
what about slots? Is that just for old people and women?
No, there's a ton of people that still play those slots, especially over at Choctaw and Windstar.
Yeah, they're
Dude,
all
they're
in
throwing that
rascals
stuff
with
down.
cigarettes dangling out of their mouth.
Yeah.
Fremont is basically slot heaven over there.
That's one good thing about Choctaw is they've opened up a very large non-smoking section.
Yeah, because Shreveport is nothing but smoke nonstop.
Yeah. Most casinos are. And Windstar has a little non-smoking section, which is tiny. But Choctaw has opened up a huge area that's non-smoking, and they've opened up a new poker room.
Now, do we have any ETA, Millerman? You may know this, on when the sports book is going to get cleared for Oklahoma, because it's stupid.
I wish I knew.
Like it was I guess a Supreme Court thing that overturned it to where it said any state can have a sports book. So why, if gambling's legal, why can't it just be all gambling? Why do they have it separated out like?
Not all states. I mean, hell, it's the reason we don't have it in Texas.
No, I know, but like a state that already has legalized gambling, why can't they just now have sports gambling also? I don't understand how this works.
The state legislatures make that decision. So yeah, I'm not a member of the Oklahoma State Legislature, Bob.
Once Choctaw and Windstar open up sports books, so many road trips. I'm telling you right now.
Yeah, because when you were asking us what other versions of gambling that we like, Bob, when you go to Vegas, that's pretty much all you do is sit in front of a sports book, place all of these bets, and then rage up when they don't work out.
Because to me, well, I feel like it's the most cost-effective method of gambling. You put money down and spend 3 hours waiting on the result, watching the game. And
but now that it's so technically advanced, where in a lot of these states where you can do it online, you can do in-game betting, bro.
All the prop bets.
If it was legal here and I could do in-game betting on my phone, I mean, I already do that with these flash drafts. Like I'm drafting for quarters.
You would be living in a van down by the river if that.
So,
he's so addicted to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a degenerate. What do you want from me? Listen, I don't drink. I don't smoke. I don't eat to excess much.
What do you do, Millerman? You don't drink. You don't smoke. What do you do?
I gamble.
Dang it, Junior. Come on. Adam
Must be something inside. I got it.
I
Dang it.
I don't know what that is.
Goody
You don't know
two-shoes.
goody two shoes? Don't drink, don't smoke. What do
do
you
you
do?
do?
Don't drink, don't smoke.
What do
Certain
you do?
situations follow. Must be something
something
inside.
Nope, I got nothing.
How many does Adamant have? Like 4?
4 or 5, yeah.
Are you
Okay,
counting
now I
ant
can hear
music?
it. You
Yes,
guys are just
Adamant
terrible
ants
at it.
and
Now
solo
I can hear it. When
Adamant.
you said Adamant, now I can hear it. I got it. All right. All right.
Hey Bob,
Yeah.
give us some ant music.
Ant music for ant people.
Okay. Okay. So for those that don't know, and since we didn't do a good introduction in the beginning, Junior is one of the hosts of How Many?
Yes, nice opportunity for
Only
cross promotion
podcast
here.
that really
That
counts.
really counts. And one of the highlights of How Many, obviously, is our beautiful singing voices that we put on display on a routine basis. Nobody enjoys showing off their lovely pipes more than Bob. He basically dominates any and all sing-alongs when there is an opportunity. He loves showing off, and basically all of our karaoke eccentric episodes are basically 90% him, unless somebody decides to talk over. If somebody else is singing, he will definitely speak up to ruin their karaoke.
All of it is Junior always pretending like he's never heard of a song. Like, oh wait, how does that go, Bob? I've never heard that one before.
In a lot of cases, I haven't heard it. I am definitely ignorant when it comes to music and lyrics at this point. I need your help at all times, Bob.
You know, there was a karaoke that stemmed or related to gambling when we did that variation on Time of the Season.
The zombie song.
Yeah.
The time of the season
For gambling.
What is happening right now?
What's your name? Who's your
Well,
cookie?
Thanks to all of our listeners on this
Beware.
episode of
I mean,
Plausible
it's pretty much
Deniability.
just PD and Suck-a-Lot listening right now anyway. Maybe Angel.
Yeah, and that's one thing that I would love to get together, because I don't think we've had enough P1 themed poker tournaments. Like,
There
we've had
needs to be
couple.
a World Series of P1 poker. You guys need to have all of the luminaries.
Now, Millerman, if we did that, would you still want the 25% deal against every? What if every P1 bought 25% of everybody else's equity for the entire tournament, and we all just basically got our buy-ins back at the end?
You know what? You know how you could sell it? Do it as a Finkley memorial. That's how you would guarantee participation.
And
12
have
step
Ruben
it.
12-step do it.
thing
Yeah,
for me
12
is
step and his wife would organize the whole thing.
once we move back into some semblance
The
of the
DFW
Metroplex,
area.
yeah, it'll be a little easier for me to participate in some of these things. Like I would like to play in the games that Junior's talking about with the guys that took the trip to Vegas. I'm a member of the online community with those guys, but I would really like to play some of the cash games and tournaments and just be more involved. But yeah, it's just too far.
Millerman's just doing a nice way of saying he wants to take my money at the table, because I am a horrendous poker player.
I'm giving you an opportunity to get your 25%.
To get my
back.
25% back.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would love, like, now that Millerman brings up, moving back to Dallas, if you would be so gracious as to host a poker tournament, I am sure people would come in droves to participate.
Are you saying that people don't go out in droves for Angel?
I mean, when was the last time he hosted a poker tournament?
Yeah, I think Dana put the kibosh.
I think,
on that.
yeah, that was all pre-Dana, basically.
Yeah, nobody's going up north of 380,
Now,
bro.
now
Dang.
how many co-hosts? Gary, he and Matt have a pad in the colony that has a finished garage or semi-finished garage that they've got set up it could be used as a poker room. So that could be a potential, because it's a semi-centralized location on that half of the Metroplex.
The thing is, though, Gary knows how to play poker, and he's played tournaments with us before, but he's not into it enough, I think, to.
Well, he
and
can
Matt
host.
doesn't play at all. Like,
He could host.
I don't know that he would be, so enthusiastic to host when he's not really involved, directly in
Hey,
it.
as long as PD's playing, Gary's not going to finish last, right?
And you say that, but PD had a very, very good run of about 1 or 2 weeks where he was bragging about how much money he won until he got into the dip phase, and all of a sudden, the gods are against him. Oh, I can't win for losing, and I'm always getting my pocket aces are getting cracked every hand. I can't win anything, and that's basically the life of a poker player. You have a week where you're like, man, I just came away with 1,500 in 3 sessions. I just lost $3,000 in 2 hours or something stupid like that.
Yeah.
And so, for somebody like PD, who I think is a little short on patience and has
as well as a little short on height.
Yes, and that too. But we've all seen him turn tomato red before when things did not go his way at the poker.
Like at one of Angel's tournaments, you were egging him on.
Yeah. So for him to have a run like that is basically asking for tables to get overthrown and chips to be.
So is he the kind of guy that would be a good target for Big Dave to bully when he'd do that initial
yes,
buy-in?
But Big Dave had a very similar temperament. He could very easily be tilted and rage up. He actually, I did see him at one of Thomas Holston's games pick up a table and push it above his head and have all the chips fly everywhere.
So he went full. We didn't
upset.
Start the fire.
Yes, absolutely. And I have. So it's not like he was the most patient and even tempered person at the poker table either.
Millerman, have you ever flipped a table?
No,
I don't believe.
I have never flipped a table, but that is because I am the most easygoing and even-tempered person that you've ever met.
Now you are about to flip.
My patience knows no bounds.
Millerman is about to flip a property when they move from Granbury,
but not a table.
Junior, I saw some of those. You talked about your 2020, and I saw some of those bad beats online that you had. In fact, I put some of those bad beats on you, and it was rough.
Yeah, online poker is so much more difficult because obviously you're not getting any reads from anybody. All you're doing is the math, and your decision making is all based on, okay, how many outs do I have? How many chances do I have to get the card I need? And anytime you make a decision where you get your money in good, I don't know why, but online it feels like the amount of bad beats is 3 times the amount of live poker. And I know everybody says, well, it's because you're seeing more hands and the game is faster paced, so the odds are that you're going to experience one of those bad beats more often. But I don't know, man, it just feels like sometimes whatever app you're using or whatever game you're playing online, it predetermines ahead of time, okay, this person is going to have a good night, and I'm going to make sure of it by giving them every out possible. Runner doesn't matter.
There are definitely times where I have felt the same way. There's no question about it. You start to see patterns. You start to see, oh well, it's going to come a 4 flush because it's time for a 4 flush, and just stuff like that.
Yeah, and I guess if you play long enough and you play enough hands, it will eventually even out. I just didn't have the patience to keep feeding the coin machine to get to the point where I could feel like I was going to break even.
I need you to get signed back up. I need more of your money.
I'm sure you do. Yeah, I still have I still play online on Poker Brothers, which is the app and the group that I went to the people with Vegas with, but I play very low stakes. I haven't actually deposited money into that account since 2020. I'm just basically living off of the free roll tournaments, and anytime I cashed in those, yes, that's the league I play in. Millerman is showing a screenshot of the Hammer League tournament or Hammer League room. But yeah, I have vowed not to deposit any more money into that account. I have about $100 just in free roll money that I've won in some of the tournaments that have gone on. But once that runs out, I have no desire to, because that's what really did me in 2020 is I kept thinking, okay, well, I'm going to deposit another 100 and eventually I'm going to break even. And that break even point never came. I could beat somebody 30 times and probably not get to the break even point of what I felt the luck factor was going to shift in my direction. And I just don't feel the same when it comes to in-person poker. Like if I experience a bad beat in person, it just feels more legit to me than the online.
I've experienced both online and live my share of getting a bad beat put on me and putting a bad beat on somebody. Like it just happens because luck plays a portion of it, right? Sometimes I have made what I thought was the correct move. Turns out somebody had a better hand and I sucked out on them. It happens.
Yeah,
and I'm okay with it.
It
You
just
know what?
I really and honestly, I know it's happened, but the times where I've sucked out against somebody else, I can't even remember them. And I know that's probably mainly because you remember the losses more than you ever remember the
Exactly.
wins. But
Exactly.
it really feels like when I lose a hand, either I made a bad decision and I was behind from the beginning, or I had the best hand and somebody ended up getting the card they needed to beat me when I had all my money in good. But I honestly cannot recall the amount of times that I went in behind, and ended up getting the cards I needed to come out ahead, whether it be flush draws, straight draws. It just doesn't. I can't think of any. Like it.
I mean, there are times where I've got kings and I get it all in, and somebody has aces, and I catch a king.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
happened.
I've been coolered before like that, but I just can't think of the time where I hit trips on somebody that had a higher hand than me pre-flop or things like that. And a lot of this is all during all-in moments. Like obviously there will be instances where there's betting going on up until the river and I stayed in and eventually hit my card, but it wasn't a situation where we were both all in
Right.
and we showed our cards. It was a showdown moment.
Yeah, I'm
and
talking about you're all in pre-flop, and I've got kings, he's got aces, and I catch a king on the flop or a king on the river, and I've got zero problem when that happens because it happens to me.
Yeah,
all
because
the time.
it evens out. It's just
Well, what happened to you? What happened to you the other night?
Yeah, so I was playing one of those bar free roll tournaments, so it didn't sting as much as it could have. But this was probably the third or fourth hand of the tournament. I mean, the blinds are like 1-200, and I pre-flop raise with pocket aces. I make it maybe 3 or 4 times the blind. The person comes over the top, makes a huge raise, maybe
And you're going
5
all right,
times
I got
my
this
bet.
fish on the line.
And I'm like, okay, this guy's got kings, got queens, or ace king, something ridiculous like that. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go all in because I think this person's going to call, no matter what they have. And sure enough, we had the same hand. We both had aces. So it's like, okay, you assume pre-flop aces, it's probably 99% of the time going to be a chop. Lo and behold, first 3 cards are clubs. So it's like this person is free rolling at this point with their flush draw. And then the river comes and the flush hits. And like that is
Listen,
kind of the epitome of how my year has gone.
He was double suited. What are you going to do? You can't blame him.
Well, I was double suited too. Like I was
going to say, go ahead, finish up, Junior.
Yeah, I was going to say things like that can become so discouraging when it's a consistent thing like that, where you feel like I'm going to break even on this hand and still end up losing somehow by miracle, are the things that make people quit poker, to be honest with you. Now, in that instance, I didn't lose any money. What do I care? It was a free roll, and they had opportunities to rebuy by buying a drink or something. You'll get more chips out of it or something like that. So, but had I lost that kind of hand, in a cash game with $300 or $400 on the line, you really think twice about, do I really want to keep feeding the monster here and throwing money away when things are not going my way? It's the struggle that every poker player has, and like Millerman says, it ebbs and flows.
Excellent discussion on gambling. Before we wrap up, Junior, tell everybody how they can follow you and how they can follow How Many. Well,
you can reach me on Twitter at Mexican_Junior. You can also email me if you want to give me feedback on how shitty of a poker player I am. MexicanJunior@gmail.com. Like Bob said, he and I are part of the How Many crew, which is another podcast where we've actually done an episode on gambling and movies, poker movies in the past. So if anybody's interested in that, go find that episode. That is going to be at How Many Podcasts on Twitter. HowManyPodcasts.com is where all of our episodes are and all of our archives. You can email us at howmanypodcasts@gmail.com as well.
Thank you so much. Take it away, Ramblin' Roy.
This is Ramblin' Roy Miller reminding you to keep it country, and so long for now.
Pausable Deniability is a production of Lukewarm Tallboy Studios. Oh, Mike,